Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's July 22nd. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And really, we spent most of the day just going sideways. This is a two-legged correction. First leg obviously was here, and then notice you get a little two-legged correction. There's actually a two-legged correction here, so you'd probably want to actually measure this from here just in case it goes higher, but it ends up making the low point here. So from that point of measured move, and you see we almost got a perfect measured move. So really we got a leg up, a correction, and another leg up. But don't forget you'd want to measure this both ways as well. I would measure this all the way to the high, and then from there to there just in case. And we didn't quite make that one, but we actually made almost a perfect measured move counting this first leg right here. So I'd measure that both ways just in case. Didn't really matter because we were already, by the time 2 o'clock came, we were just still chasing that first target. So for the most part, we were sideways. We had a little trend up, a little trend down, and then we had that second leg up. And this is pretty much a two-legged correction in here in the middle of this. And that's usually the center of a pattern. So when we made these higher lows here, there's a good chance we may go higher. But that's the way I looked at it today. For the most part, you were playing this range early on. I didn't mark this trade right here, but this is a very distinct possibility. I should have at least marked it green. It's a little bit of congestion there, but the reason is that prices were still trying to go higher at that point, and the highs of the range were still holding right there. And you can see we tested it once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, and then turned down. Look how bearish that bar is. And the lows are back down here. So the only reason I don't like that one being blue is that we didn't break higher and make a lower high right there. It's still a lower high, but we didn't get that tick higher that you like to see. So I'll leave it green, but it's real close. I mean, you could argue for it to be red. There's another one right here that's a possibility. Only thing is I didn't like the signal bar. So and you really could count that as a failed second entry long. That's basically a double top. So a first entry, second entry. So it's not a failed second entry till it breaks lower, which is right there. So even though that's not a good signal bar, so if you understood that and saw that, and again, this one I'm going to make it green, but again, you could argue for it to be red. It's real close. So with that in mind, let's back out a little more, talk about these trades, and wrap up the day. 7 o'clock came right in here somewhere, and of course we got our first break then. It's a shame we didn't get a good signal bar right there. Even though there's a little tick higher, you could look at that as 2 legs down, but that signal bar is too weak for me with it being below the EMA. We make a higher low right here, but being right into all that resistance, I don't think you want to take that, especially after breaking a new high. And when it breaks higher and fails, and gives you that bearish bar on a second entry short, I like going short right there. Quick, easy move, and then now you get a second entry long, so you might get that next leg up. Notice that new high, first entry, second entry, and that's a higher low than this one. So that's the reason I kind of like that one. You could argue for this to almost be green, because if you drew your trend line here, you really need at least 3 or 4 bars. You get 3 right there, so it does look like a break and a new low. And that's definitely how your trend line should be drawn off those first few there. Now, of course, you don't know that that's not your first swing right there, and so that makes that a little bit questionable, because we could come back up and turn down. So you could argue for that one to be green for those reasons. But this is looking much more sideways. I mean, you can see we've just been going sideways, and the lows are right in here. So when you got that second entry long with enough room, and at that point I had the high up here. I moved it down later when we made these two closes right here. You can see it tends to fit better right there. Actually, I moved it back up again when we made those three closes, and so that's where I ended up with it for the day. But yeah, I like that long just to ride it back up and see if we test these highs or make a new high. And then of course you made that high, then you come out, you test it once, you test it twice. If you're just looking at the double test rule, it's not very good because that's a very bullish bar. It is a second entry short. Notice that low, first entry, and then we broke lower, second entry. But if you saw the failed second entry long, yeah, it actually tried to go higher 3 times, but notice it didn't break lower till right here the second time. So so that's where the failure technically occurred, and you've had that double test of that level by then. And so I like that trade. It's a little aggressive, but if you see that and understand what's going on, I don't have any problem going short, just looking for it to test the lows again. And it does. It comes down, it bounces. Technically, this is a second entry long, and it is off the lows, but we just made a lower low, and we haven't really tested it more than once at this point, so we could go lower. You got to assume that we're trying to fill this gap. This is where the market opened. This is where it closed last. And so you got to assume prices are going to try to fill that gap. And so you got to be careful getting long here without a good setup, second, a double test with a second entry or whatever. But this is a double top, so it's a new high. So I just look at that as a first entry. And then we tried to go lower and made a perfect double bottom. And we actually broke lower below that big bearish bar, and they turned up instantly. I like going long, 1 tick above that. You could wait till this bar finishes, but I would let it break above and drop a limit order back where this one was, just in case to get a little better entry. But I like that as a double bottom on this range, and that turns out to be a pretty good move. There's a higher low right here, but it's right back into those highs. I don't like it. It would have worked, but it's not a very good reversal pattern. Of course, we move on up, and then you do make this new high. You get a little failed breakout, but you don't get a good setup again. I don't like any of those signal bars, and we talked about this one. You got your lower high here. I would have liked it better if it broke higher, but it does come back into range. It does try to go up and turn back down, and that's a big bearish bar. You could just put a sell stop right there, but what I'd recommend probably doing is letting it break lower and dropping a limit order, and you could have gotten filled all the way back up where that low was, or even 1 tick below it fairly easily, and then it drops on down. And where's it bounce? Right here. I still wouldn't look at this as a double test yet because we made that low, and we made this low right here. You could argue that there's a close outside and 2 legs down to a new low, but it's so close it's not real convincing. So I'd wait, and of course it does break higher and come back. This would have worked, but you're better off to wait. Now you get a higher low and a nice bullish. I mean, that's a perfect signal bar. I like going long 1 tick above that. And where does it go? Right back up to the highs again. And then you get a second entry short and a fairly decent signal bar right there as well, and you've tested that multiple times across there. So I like that one, just to ride it back down to the lows, and in this case it breaks on through, and so you would have got a fairly nice runner if you tried to catch a runner. I'm not crazy about trying to get runners on days like this without much room, because more times than not it's just a waste of your time, and you just waste those contracts. But we did get this first leg down, so we may get a second measured leg. So that's something to think about. So what I would do is I'd maybe, if I'm trading if I'm just trading 1 or 2 contracts, I'm probably just going to scalp out. But if I'm trading at least 5, I may scalp out of all of them but 1. Or if I'm scalping 10, I may still try to save 1 or 2 or something like that, just in case, because you would have caught some, a couple more points here, and if you multiply that by 2 or 3 contracts, that adds another 4 to 6 points, maybe 9 points to your take for the day, and that adds up. And so keep that in mind. And we pretty much got a measured move there. And of course we bounced. There's a higher low here, but everything's still below And so you want to wait. I don't think you want to go short there either. And notice we make a double bottom, and then we make a higher low, and everything's above the EMA. I like going long there just to ride it back up here and test these lows again, if nothing else. But to try to go lower to make that double bottom and then a higher low with a nice bullish bar. I mean, that's a great reversal bar. It opened here, traded all the way down here, and then closed all the way back up here. It takes a lot of buying to close back up there. So that's a pretty good bar, and it does kind of gap over the EMA there, so you probably had to use a limit order if you could get in it. You may not could. Takes off and comes back. It gives you a failed second entry short here. I didn't mark this one. It's just a first entry counting off the highs, but notice that's a double bottom. So first entry, second entry. Technically, it's not a failed second entry short, but it does bounce right off that trend line. So if you notice that and wanted to be a little aggressive right there, I don't have a problem with it. And that turns out to be a nice move, and you probably would have got a runner maybe on that one. And look at it go. Could ride this all the way up. There's another second entry right here. Notice that high, first entry, and it tries to go lower. And so when it broke above here, that's a second entry long. It is right at the EMA, and what it is, it looks almost like a spiking channel, but really we're just in a two-tiered channel, but we're in the upper half, and it's continued to bounce all the way up through there. So, and you got enough room to get out, and we're probably headed up here. So I like that one. And you get, you get maybe a tick to spare there, but you don't get much more than that. The key is just have enough room to get out before you get back to here. And with that overshoot there, you got to figure that we're probably going to get a break soon. And here we go. We come back down. You get a first entry, and then you get a second entry here. You get a close outside, a nice bullish bar. I like going long right there just to see if it runs back up for a new high. And of course it does. And that's a pretty nice move right there, as you can see. And that takes you in, you can just ride this up. I just draw my little trend line right here. And as soon as we got anything that closed outside of it, I'd put my sell stop, which would be right there. And so you would have got all of that, but for 3 or 4 or 5 ticks at the most. If you had a runner, that is. So basically we got 2 legs up here with a correction in the middle. A lot of sideways action for most of the regular trading session. So market did close up for the day. 29.89 where we closed down here at 29.77. So we did close up for the day. We're still testing, working that 3,000 level. If you back off here, you can see 3,000 is right across there. We've been kind of working both sides of that off and on since we made new highs not too long ago. All-time new highs, basically. So pretty decent trading day considering we didn't get much movement. Really, you were just trading this range for the most part all day long because that took you into 2 o'clock. We were basically in a range till 2 o'clock. And you might have moved this up to here, or I definitely would have moved it up to there once we closed up there. And you can see how we played off of that. You do get a little double test right there with that overshoot. That's one to consider, possibly a short right there. I'm going to leave it green. I'm not going to make it any more than that. It's a little risky. But we did have an overshoot right here. So, and you could look at that as a double test. There's 2 tries to go higher right there. So you test that. Notice you come down for 1 try, 2 tries. So something to consider there. Anyway, that's what I saw today. I'm not going to beat around the bush with this one. Pretty blah day overall. But we'll be heading into the fall soon. School will be starting back. people will be coming back from vacations. The market usually picks up in the fall, so maybe we'll get a big rally. We'll have to see. Hopefully, it won't be a big sell-off. We don't care which way it goes. We just want it to move. But I hate to see big sell-offs in the market, even though you can make good money. It hurts a lot of people. It hurts the economy. If you got long-term investments, it hurts them. So I worked in the corporate world for 20-something years, so I still got a 401k sitting out there that I monitor from time to time, and I hate to see it go down. So anyway, I'm sure a lot of you probably feel the same way. But in the big scheme of things, as a day trader, we really don't care where it goes. As long as it moves, that's all we needed to make money. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.